Hello, my name is Chad Thompson with Unity College, and this is a presentation of From the Bay to the Mountains. This is an analysis of the communication frames of the Chesapeake Bay program and also the West Virginia Chesapeake Bay program. So for this report, will detail some of the goals of the Chesapeake Bay program, also known as the CBP, and it will examine framing techniques used by the communication team and highlight possible framing techniques that could possibly be used to highlight and to expound upon the West Virginia Chesapeake Bay program, especially things used within the social media outlets. In 1983, 3 states formed the Chesapeake Bay Agreement, and just a few years later, in 2002, 6 states, as well as the District of Columbia, have now gotten together to form the Chesapeake Bay Program. Since the Bay Agreement was signed, efforts have been made to improve the waters of the Bay. The Chesapeake Bay Agreement has formed these 10 goals to form the Chesapeake Bay Program, and this is how money and efforts are being spent and focused within the Chesapeake Bay Program. Sustainable fisheries, vital habitats, water quality, toxic contaminants, healthy watersheds, climate resiliency, land conservation, stewardship, public access, and environmental literacy. Each year, millions of dollars are being spent, and hundreds of people are working on the conservation efforts and on science just within the Bay itself. And it's easy for this information to be shared within these various groups within the Chesapeake Bay program. However, sometimes this information can be jumbled around within the groups and lost and doesn't make it out to the general public. So that is why the communication work group plays such a vital role in the information collection and distribution. As information leaves the work groups and the teams, copies of this information make their way through the communication work groups, and then it is shared from there into the general public. The main source of information distribution for the CBP is through their website, chesapeakebay.net. The Chesapeake Bay Program communication team is actually made up of several paid staffers, as well as at least 2 representatives from each of the Bay states. Several communication staffers work on creating social media, as well as the actual content for the page itself. Photographers, videographers, map makers, and various other forms of media. When you look at the West Virginia communication teams that make up the West Virginia Chesapeake Bay program, we find that it's a much smaller staff, and the team is made up of several staffers from the different partnering agencies. Their teams meet mostly to discuss what their individual agencies are working on and projects that their agencies can highlight for communications, what they're spending money on, what grants they're looking for, and focus that they are working on for that month or possibly for the year. And then the team reviews this content, shares it on newsletters, websites, social media, and things of that nature. This report looked mostly at 3 key communication frames used by the Chesapeake Bay program, and these include stories. During the spring of this year, 2 of the stories that caught my mind were the story about woodchucks, also known as groundhogs, and Flowers Full of Memories, which was also known as Forget-Me-Nots. And this talked a little bit about the history and the lore behind these. But then these stories for the Chesapeake Bay program summed them up, brought them back into modern-day science, and we got a chance to learn about the nature behind the stories and the history of why we understand the lore that's there now. The Chesapeake Bay program also shares a lot of its information through traditions, rituals, ceremonies. This article that we see present on the picture above is in honor of Harry Hughes, as it shows his dedication and his goals towards stewardship with the Chesapeake Bay program after his passing. So some of the media of the Chesapeake Bay program is based on those historic rituals and ceremonies associated with changes in the Chesapeake Bay program over the years. Social media experts at the Chesapeake Bay program use slogans, jargons, catchphrases as part of their social media messages. These are just a few that are being shared through social media platforms in the form of hashtags. No Till November, Save the Streams, Find Your Chesapeake, Save the Bay. These are things that go across all of the Bay itself and get shared on an almost daily basis. Analysis of the West Virginia program showed that there's actually only one social media platform for the West Virginia Chesapeake Bay program, and that was Facebook. Talking to members of the team, we find out that they just simply don't have the time and efforts, the time to commit more effort into other social media platforms at this time, but they're looking forward to it in the near future. So what could potentially be done to expand this platform? Well, the program could highlight some of the 10 Bay agreements. So each time that a social media platform is produced, there was only 19 things that went out on social media during the month of September 2019. But as those things go out, we could look at why was it important enough for that piece of information to go out? Which of the Bay 10 agreements is being highlighted? The program could also create its own marketing slogans for green environmental projects. The Chesapeake Bay program likes to highlight some of the work that it's done, where it's spent its money, but it could definitely have slogans that people could learn and reference back to the West Virginia program itself. West Virginia also is filled with lots of history and lore, and these stories could be used as part of the marketing techniques to help bring people back in, learn about their local history, as well as learn about the science and related to why the lore is there. So there's no one way to communicate to all 17 million people that live in the Chesapeake Bay region. And there's even millions more that visit this area every year. But it's evident that the goals of the Chesapeake Bay program and the Chesapeake Bay Agreement can be met if they are carefully thought out and meticulously presented for each of the 10 goals as social media advances and changes go forward from this point on. So thank you for turning in. I hope you get a chance to actually read the paper. Thank you once again. Appreciate it.